And then after meeting this guy, and we'd been on a date, I kind of like had a bit of an accident, and I fell out of a glass window, and I fell down about 4 or 5 different stories, and I was completely unconscious. And when I came to, I found that cats were licking my blood, and then all of a sudden I found I'd got all of these kind of strange acrobatic abilities, and I could do spins and flips and all sorts of things. And I found that I was really good at aiming a whip and kind of whipping things. And so then I teamed up with this guy called Batman, who's kind of like this whole big kind of superhero kind of thing, and we took down criminals together. And I was kind of always kind of on the kind of half side, I'm a good, I'm a bad, but then yeah, that was it. That was kind of like a whole summer of that.
Okay. You know, I usually don't know what you're going for, and I honestly didn't know until you said Batman, and then it kind of clicked with me.
Right.
I was like, what movie could this even be? Okay, all right.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever put myself in a female character before. So I thought it'd be quite
cool. I don't think you have. What? Wait, is there an actual Catwoman movie?
There is. There's one with Halle Berry, but that wasn't the one I was referring to. I was actually referring to the Michael Keaton from the second Batman Returns.
Batman Returns. Okay. That's the scene that I remember, because I've seen that, but I've never actually seen the dedicated Catwoman movie.
Just
is that bad? That bad? Huh? All right.
Yeah, it's not great. It's not great.
All right, fair enough. Some people in chat are like, "What the heck is going on?" Maybe some people are a little new here. They don't realize how we start some of the shows. Basically, we're silly. We're silly.
Well, I'm silly. I'm incredibly silly. Yeah.
Well, yeah. I'm just dumb. Jay's silly. I'm just dumb.
Cool. Silly and dumb.
Yes.
Jay Shuff, thank you very, very much for the 500 superpower discovery bits. Genuinely appreciate those. Thank you very much for that. Surf Fortuna as well. Thank you very much for the 12 months of subs, a whole year. Congratulations and happy Top Pack birthday to you. That's very, very much appreciated. And Jay Shuff are back again with the subs, with 20 months of subs now. Wow, dude. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, guys. Also, shout out to LBI Bass and Noxygen, who just subbed as well. So thank you so much, guys. And LBI Bass says, "What is up? It has been many months. It has been a while, huh? We've been doing other things. Maybe he's been doing other things. Just staying away from the keyboard community, perhaps. Who knows?
Yeah, maybe. And GH Beats as well. Thank you very much for the 6 months of sub. He says uwu. Uwu to you as well.
Tasty.
It's weird when you say uwu, Jay, because you're not like you're not a weeb. Oh man.
Can I say it ironically? I don't know.
Yeah. PMS and Chicken went 300 bits as well. So thank you so much for that, man. Very, very kind.
Tried 100 bits.
Noxygen grilling me because I didn't read his sub message. I'm sorry. He says, "I need Quakeums to shill lime." You know I like lime. I actually have GMK lime right next to me somewhere. Oh, here it is. I just took it off a board. I need to put it on another one.
Is it coming back?
I need. Oh, I don't know. I don't think so. I don't think lime needs any shilling. Lime's like averagely popular. I think.
It's a great set. I'm not sure it's popular.
I think lime is really cool. I think lime is a really good set. I don't really care what other people think about it.
Ooh, very.
Shout out to Frothy KK with a Twitch Prime sub as well. Thank you so much.
13 months as well. That means he had a top rank birthday last month. There we go.
Josie said, "Oh, a tri-stream with Lang too. Is Lang here? I don't think Lang's here.
Well, he's not here with me, which is a shame because that'd be fun.
Oh, he is here with me. He just happens to be.
Oh right, okay, cool, awesome.
I'm just waiting for him. I'm just waiting for him to come over. Oh, that's right. He's not actually here. That's kind of weird. Oh, he's in chat. There he is. You're supposed to be in my apartment, Lang. What are you doing? What are those headphones?
Which one? Whose?
I'm just using a crappy pair of gaming headphones. These are the HyperX Clouds. Jay's using some fancier ones.
Yeah, Sony WHM XM1003s, whatever the code is. Yeah, the Sony noise cancelling ones. There's actually some new ones. The XM4s are coming out soon, which I will be buying.
Nice. Lang says he is in my apartment. Holy crap! I didn't even know.
What? See what? Lang, why are you there and why are you not here? That makes more sense for you to be here. Someone give more bits again.
I think I finally got this username. Departed Village Idiot donates 100 bits. So thank you so much for that. I struggled really hard with that username last time I looked at it, but I think I finally have it.
Deported, he says, not departed.
Oh, deported. Oh my gosh, I'm sorry. Maybe departed. Maybe a little too dark. Anyways, we should probably get on with the show, I suppose, since we are a little bit late. I'm gonna roll the intro, and we're gonna have a little chat, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to this week's episode of Top Clack. I'm your host, Quakeums, joined as usual by my lovely co-host, Jay. And we have some things to talk to you about today. Of course, some keyboard things as usual, but a little bit about maybe the future of Top Clack as well, and kind of where things have been and kind of where things are going. So we kind of just wanted to talk to you about some possible changes that have kind of been coming. Basically, I don't want to beat around the bush. You guys know I like to be transparent with you guys. The current structure of the show has just been a little stale, a little redundant, and Jay and I just aren't really 100% happy with the way everything is going right now. With that said, we kind of want to maybe take it back to the basics and maybe attempt a different kind of podcasting structure that is more akin to the way Top Clack started, and something that's more akin to the actual true mission of Top Clack and the way that we want it to be. I feel like, while it is certainly kind of our fault, of course, Top Clack's fault, we've been kind of pigeonholed into this news outlet in a way. And, that was never the original goal. That was never the intention. And with the current rate at which the community is growing, it's almost unsustainable to... Yeah, I mean, that's just the bottom line. Is it's to do the show the way that we currently are, it's just kind of unsustainable. And it's incredibly difficult. And it's no longer fun. I don't want to be the studio that just talks about news. There's so much more to be done in the keyboard community, and I feel like the current strategy that we have has kind of run its course, and we kind of want to move to something that's a little bit more of what we want, something that we can do to better the community in a different way that isn't just shoving more news, concisely down your guys' throat, because it's just run its course.
Yeah, every week we struggle to just comprehend the sheer amount of news, and then we get complaints when we miss things, and which happens. We miss key sets, and we miss group buys. We can't cover everything.
This isn't uncommon. That's people complaining that we don't cover something, or maybe that they didn't like a comment that we made. This is a weekly occurrence, guys, and this isn't what we wanted to do to begin with. We want to be broadcasters. We want to be podcasters. We want to be your on screen or on audio, I guess, personalities, and we want you guys to be here because of us, because you guys like what we have to say, you like our opinions, our thoughts, you value what we bring to the community, to the hobby, and
we want to show you and bring new stuff back to the community. I mean, we both enjoy doing build streams, and that's not going to stop. But in terms of these shows, we kind of want to, you guys have seen that quite often we'll get stuck on tangents, and that leads to a show being 3 or 4 hours long, because we'll talk about something that really interests us. It's a really small part of the hobby, but can mean so much to people who care. And those tangents just kind of detract from the news, kind of detracts from us allowing to talk about those tangents and those kind of opportunities there. So there's just too much to cover as well. Every week there are more and more interest checks. I mean, I think there's 14 group buys running right now for key sets. That's impossible.
And to be totally honest with you guys, it's just not fun anymore. I mean, there's so many key sets that run every single month, and at the end of the day, what's the differences between them other than the profiles and the colors? It winds up just being all preference, and we can only talk about how we feel about certain key sets and colorways so often. And the same is true about keyboards as well. A lot of us, truth be told, we're not really pushing the boundaries as a community in terms of a lot of the technology that we could be using otherwise. So because of that, we wind up just kind of repeating a lot of the same products, whether they're key sets or keyboards, and we just kind of change the aesthetic a little bit. Because of this and just the sheer amount of news that's just been piling up over the weeks and months lately, it's just not really possible to do anymore the way that we want, and it's just it takes a lot of the fun out of it. It's honestly stressful because I have to spend so much time before all the shows, trying to track down other people throughout the week and ask them for this information and that information, and reading through every interest check and every group buy and trying to keep track of all this information and all of these details, and I just can't do it anymore, guys. And I wanted to go back to the way Top Clack was back when we started, back when I had the most fun out of Top Clack, when it was just a group of guys bullshitting about keyboards and talking about the community and the happenings and the way that we feel. And that's what I miss most about Top Clack. It was always supposed to be just this kind of fun, casual, informative, and educational podcast where people just got to be themselves and talk about keyboards. And instead, we've kind of just pigeonholed ourselves, unfortunately, into being this kind of news program that just isn't really as functional as it otherwise used to be, just because of the way the community has changed.
Yeah, and it doesn't suit either of our styles either. It's kind of becoming the same thing over and over. Both Brian and I feel exactly the same way about this. So that's kind of how we feel. So here's what we're going to do. We are going to still talk about news. That's not going to change, but the amount of news we talk about is going to change. We are going to pick topics that interest us, topics that excite us, topics that we want to talk about, that we feel we can give you value by talking about. So this isn't going to be kind of like, here's every single key set this week anymore. That's not how Top Clack's going to be. But we are going to be more fun. We're going to be more entertaining. We're going to talk about more different things. And we're going to really challenge ourselves to be a better showcase of what good podcasting in this hobby can be about. So I hope that sounds good.
Yeah, so obviously feel free to give us your thoughts on that, guys. I know it's going to be a very big change for people that watch Top Clack regularly. It's probably going to be a pretty big transition, a pretty large shift. And but at the end of the day, we're doing this hopefully for everyone, including ourselves. And we want to do what we have fun doing, because if we have fun doing it, it's probably just going to be flat out better content for all of you guys. And if we try to just force ourselves to do something that we don't want, something that's just super repetitive, that's just not interesting anymore, I don't think anyone really wins. And I feel like we're just headed down that path, honestly, and it's not a good path to be on. And it's time for us to kind of go back to our roots and do the exact content that we want to be doing, and not just continuing on because we think the community wants it. We got to make some change for ourselves as well.
Tasty.
Yeah. Just as an aside, Blind Panda says, I'm so distracted by Ches J vibrating behind his head. It's because I have like a back massager and it turns itself on randomly. So when you see it go, that's when the back massager comes on. It's a whole different thing. But yeah, we just want to do new things and challenge ourselves to be a better show for you guys as well. So that's what we're going to do. And you're going to see some changes this week. And you're going to see some more changes in the weeks go by. And things might change, things might come and things might go, and we might do little segments that kind of disappear and reappear at different points. We really want to make this more fun. And it's not that we're going to get rid of all the shitty ICs, excuse my French, but we're not going to get rid of all the crap. We're going to talk about the things that interest us and talk about it. And if that one week happens to be something like GMK pooped in the pool, well, then that's what we'll share with you guys, because that means that we've got something that we can talk about, that we can share our opinions, our emotions, we can be real about it. Instead of just talking about 56 different colors in ABS plastic and PBT dice, then we can talk about something that really means something.
Yeah. With that said, we are still going to end today's show like we will be, and like we have been the whole time with the Q&A. So if you have more questions for us, whether it's about this or other things, make sure you save those for them for the segment later. Like Jay mentioned, we are still going to be talking about a little bit of news today. It's not going to be an onslaught like it has been. This is going to be very different. We're only going to be talking about a few news topics today. Some pretty interesting stuff, though, of course. But yeah, we're not just going to be here to shove all this news down your throats Thursday nights from now on. Like it's just not the way we want to continue this show. So keep that in mind, guys, and hopefully you guys can stick on with us and bear with us during this kind of strange transition time, and hopefully by next week we're going to have our new structure kind of sorted out, and it's going to be hopefully a lot better for everyone.
Absolutely.
Because I'm ready to have some fun in this hobby again.
Absolutely, me too. Yeah, I think that's what we want to get back to. We want to get back to a raw, fun kind of position. And I think Brian was saying to me just before the show, he was kind of explaining that the kind of lockdown and COVID's given him the opportunity to really have some self-introspection on this and how it's going to affect him and how he wants to go forward. And kind of like it was a big revelation to me that I didn't realize that I'd been feeling the same, being in a rut, and then not being on the show last week. And Lang did a great job while I was off. Thank you, Lang, by the way.
Lang did an amazing job last week.
Fantastic. But it was kind of like just watching the show, and because there were some changes last week, and you guys didn't cover any keyboards, it was just all key sets and things. They kind of made me realize that actually, yeah, I do have a bit of a mental block on how we've been going forward. So just need to make it more fun, need to make it more interactive. And that's the other thing as well, because we want to be interactive with you. We want you to shape what the show looks like as well. We don't want to just do it on our own. We wanted to make it what you guys want to see as well. So we're always open to feedback, and we want you guys to reach out more and be in touch more as well. So, we want you to send us an email. We want you to fill out the contact form on the Top Clack website. We want you to go to the website and read the articles, because we both want to write more articles as well. That's something we both miss doing. So we kind of want to do different things as well. We want to speak to you guys more. It doesn't have to be Discord servers or anything else like that. It can be YouTube comments. It can be, drop us an email, drop us a DM, send me a letter if you want. I'm happy for someone to write to me. That would make my day.
That'd be awesome. Yeah. Heck yeah.
It'd be amazing. So we want to really, really take it back to you guys as well, and put you guys at the forefront of this. So yeah.
Yeah. The TLDR there, guys, is Top Clack is going to be making some changes. It's going to be changing more towards what Jay and I want to be doing in the community right now, as well as taking obviously some advice and some opinions from you guys, the viewers, the people in the Twitch chat. Let us know. What you guys kind of want to see, because at the end of the day, we do it for ourselves, but we also do it for the community, and we want to be doing the kind of content that you guys want to see as well. And, we want to be happy doing it, because that's when you guys are going to get the good content from us, the real content from us. And I'm really excited to kind of just go back to the basics of what a good podcast can be, and, trying to maybe just take this into a direction that other people just aren't right now. So
yeah, big shout out to a few people, because there's been some bits. So I love Chiletta's 150 bits. There's for all the change, boys. Thank you very much for that. Teal Technic says I tune in Thursday night news, but let's be honest, I'll watch you guys do just about anything. 300 bits. Thank you very, very much.
That means so much to us. Because that's what we want. At the end of the day, like, you're gonna watch us for us, right? Like, if you like us, you're probably gonna watch us. If you don't like us, you're probably not gonna watch us, regardless of what kind of content we're doing. And that's what broadcasters should be. If you like a streamer, you're gonna watch their content, regardless of what they're doing. And at the core, that's just the content. That's what we want to do.
Exactly. Kajahata, thank you very much for gifting the tier 1 sub to T-Zark. Thank you very much for that. And Scott Water as well, thank you very much for the 250 tasty bits. He says, because boys just want to have fun. Absolutely. That's what
true.
We want to do. We want to make this...
Yeah, I mean, everyone's supposed to have fun, right?
Yeah. And it's not just about chucking some hot takes in there and stuff like that.
There will be hot takes, too.
But maybe we can open up a bit more, instead of just being...
Exactly, that's what it should be, yeah.
I know I restrain myself sometimes, and I don't.
I do as well, because I do usually want it to have more of a professional feel. I don't want it to just be a slam factory like so many other parts of the community are these days.
Yeah,
it's just that gets old as well. So, but exciting times moving forward, guys. There's gonna be some good changes. We believe, so that's going to be pretty awesome. With that said, we'll talk. I assume there'll be more questions about that later, so we'll talk more about that later. But let's get to the rather small news doc that we do have today. But
it's a very curated list.
A very curated list. Yes. Yeah. Very.
We genuinely, I'd say we had a really long discussion beforehand, which is why we were a bit late going live, because we're like, what is the core of what we want to talk about this week? So we've only got a few subjects this week. It's not a big news doc. It should be quite easy to get through. But there's some interesting
T-Zark says, I'd watch you guys even harder if you talk shit. I mean, there's certainly a time and a place for shit talk, and I don't want that to be like the focus of any kind of content. And I feel like for some content, it just kind of is, but I don't want to go down that road. But with that said, like I mentioned, there's gonna be some hot takes as well. Because sometimes opinions are just hot takes.
Talking crap about something for an hour, then there's something wrong, right? That's not what
the entire mission behind Top Clack is very much still trying to get proper information and try to get people educated so they can make the right decisions for them and spend their hard-earned money in the right ways, because this hobby is crazy. It's a minefield right now trying to get in. The barrier of entry is crazy, and with so many things costing insane amounts of money, to be totally honest, it's kind of a minefield. It can be difficult for a lot of new people coming in. So
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that's something Jay and I will obviously get together, and we're gonna talk about kind of the top Clack future and how we want to kind of handle things moving forward. So look forward to that, though. That's gonna be a lot of fun.
Yeah, Malwan wins. I agree. Hot take: pineapple does belong on a pizza. Pineapple is absolutely an acceptable topping on a pizza.
Sweet and salty. It's fundamental culinary structure. I don't understand why this surprises anyone. To be totally honest.
If you like it on a pizza, put it on a pizza. One of my favorite things on a pizza is egg. So hey,
egg on a pizza is good. Yeah, especially on a traditional Neapolitan style pizza out of a wood fire oven. Oh man, you're getting me. You're making me drool a little bit here, Jay. Which of course is nothing new.
But let's on pizza.
Let's talk about a few news topics for the day, shall we, ladies and gentlemen?
Yes. Right. Where do you want to start this week, Brian? What are we starting off with?
This week, something that I think we're both incredibly excited about. This is the group buy for the Hiney TKL1. The Hiney TKL1. So we talked about this interest check a few months back, I think, and full disclaimer, I am part of the friends and family group buy of this. I really love this board. I've already paid for mine, so just keep that in mind, guys. But
I didn't even know about this. Hiney, please. Come on, man.
I didn't... it's not my fault. Hiney did say it publicly during the Clackers Care stream when I brought him on when I was building. So I'm not sharing information that's not already technically public that was shared by him. But with that said, I'll leave you to talk to Heidi about that later, Jay. But let's talk about some of the specs of this board while we take a look at it as well. So we're going to get a 6-degree typing angle. There's going to be a 2-part weight system, which I'll show off momentarily, that I think is quite interesting. You're going to get torque screws here, so that's something we don't see terribly often on a lot of custom keyboards, but something that I'd like to see a little bit more of at least. You're going to have a couple color options. You're going to be able to get black or gold, and of course I'll kind of show off both here. And you're going to have a WinKey or WinKeyless top available. You're going to have plate options being brass, polycarbonate, aluminum. All those are going to be full options. And you're going to have FR4 in a variety of options. So full, half, or an Alps style plate. So always cool to see that as well. Of course, this is going to be using the kind of koala Jane mounting style, that kind of traditional, really proper TKL top mount that everyone knows and loves. There's going to be, it's going to be kind of burger mount as well, so you can do, I think you can probably do it top mount, but I think the intended route is the burger mount, which of course is kind of top mount with the O-rings, so, kind of a similar thing there anyways. And there's only going to be 45 slots. This one's going to be pretty limited. Group buy opens June 21st, and it's kind of an interesting structure here. So you're going to have kind of 2 options to get in on it, but you can only enter once per household, if I got the terminology right, which is kind of interesting. Usually we don't see that laid out quite so interestingly. But I definitely think if you're planning on joining this, you have to read through this group buy, because there's a lot of information on how you can enter and why he's structuring it the way he is. So I'm not going to kind of go through it here because there's a lot of information, but read through this if you do plan on joining it, of course. But $505 base kit, and it is going to be running alongside what he's calling the Num1 pad, I think? The Num1?
Yeah.
So that's the pad that you see rendered here. But how do you feel about this board, Jay?
So I've been wanting this since we first saw it. I think this is kind of like... I'm not usually a TKL user, and I do have some nice TKLs that tend to gather dust a little bit. I think this would be the board that would change that, because this looks eminently usable. It's really clean. It's kind of classic, but with a unique taste, unique twist on it. The rear curve is what really sells me on this board. That kind of whole side profile, you can get your fingers underneath. It's got the rear curve. I genuinely adore it. The numpad on the side as well is huge for me. I do a lot of spreadsheet work, and having a numpad is a huge benefit to me. But having a numpad that I can tuck away when I don't need it, that is even better. So this just looks great. And that gold color with the OG keycaps on, I mean, that's pretty close to perfection, right?
It's amazing, right? And I remember I said this when we talked about the interest check a few months ago, but we've been seeing so many TKLs that kind of redo the same kind of design, and it's gotten a little stale, and this doesn't really blow anything out of the water in terms of aesthetic design. I would say this is still very kind of reserved, very kind of minimal, but it's still a little bit different enough. It has that hiney touch, that hiney flair that's just a little bit different, particularly with those side profile and back angles, and the back swoop. I think really kind of differentiates this from a lot of the other TKLs on the market, as well as the two-weight system, which I touched on earlier. From what I'm aware of, at least, so the bottom is actually kind of a stainless steel kind of affair, whereas the internal weight is actually brass. So I was trying to find a good picture that showed off both of them, but I'm not actually seeing one, sadly. Probably shows it off in the stream a little bit better, but basically the way it is on the outside you kind of get the steel weight, on the inside you get the brass weight, and the idea, at least as it was articulated in the interest check thread, was that's actually going to kind of give you a very particular acoustic signature. So it's very much done in terms of sound. So kind of an interesting idea to kind of use a two-weight system, use two different materials in a two-weight system just to alter how the keyboard is going to sound. That's big brain, if I have to say so myself.
It is, and it's great to see that people are playing with sound more in this hobby. Sound is something that's so important to a lot of us without us even realizing it, and to be able to play and have different configurations and to test all this kind of stuff out is it's really big moves, and it's good to see. It's good to see. So yeah, I'm really excited for this. Did you get the number one as well, or did you just get the TKL?
You know me, I'm kind of a cheapskate. I like value, and I kind of passed on the number one because I would never use it, so I just kind of went for the kind of base kit on here for the TKL, but very, very excited for that. What do you think about the starting price here? $505 without the plates. So you will have to pay a couple extra dollars for a plate. Let me find the actual listing here. But plates not terribly expensive add-on. The more expensive ones are only about $35. So
yeah, I mean, I think the price is fine. The cost of manufacturing is going up slightly. It's a fact of where we are. Prices are going to rise over time. Generally, I think what was $400 2 years ago is now $500. That's just the way things work. There is a fair amount of machining needed on this board. That curve at the rear end is something that needs a bit of machining. It needs dedication and someone who's experienced at machining to be able to pull off some of these kind of shapes and things. So I think the price is absolutely justified.
Yeah, fair enough. So $505 gets you the case and a PCB, and you can get an FR4 plate for about $25, and the rest of the plates range from $25 to $35. So about $530 to $540 for the base kit, depending on what kind of configuration you are looking at. But does seem quite reasonable, especially for what we know is probably going to be a pretty darn premium high-end TKL. This is going to compete with the big boys. It's going to be an alternative to something like a Jane. So I think this is definitely priced quite fairly, and man, does it look freaking gorgeous. I cannot wait to get mine. What configuration are you going to be trying for, Jay?
So I'm going to go for the gold in terms of the colour, because I think that's the best colour. In terms of the plate, I'm probably going to go for the polycarbonate or the FR4, maybe both. Don't know. I'd probably go polycarbonate full and FR4 half, I think.
Okay, fair enough. I went with the FR4 plate, because I think that's what Heine likes best. I like to kind of almost model boards after their designers and their preferences. Sometimes I always find that's kind of fun. So yeah, guys, that's happening soon, and you're gonna have very, very brief windows to get in on it. So you're gonna have effectively two 10-minute windows that are 10 hours apart from each other. To get in on this, guys. So that's going to happen on June 21st, and the first window is going to be at 10 a.m. Eastern. 10 a.m. to 10 a.m. Eastern there, guys. So you can only enter once. You can't enter both blocks, if I'm not mistaken. Otherwise, he will disqualify you. So keep that in mind, guys, and read the rules carefully and get you some goodness, because, man, these are going to go pretty darn quick. Only, 45 slots open? That's gonna be instantaneous. You're gonna have to really pray to RNGesus on this one, I feel like.
Yes. I wasn't aware of the friends and family, and now I'm really, really regretting not being aware of it. Must have missed that part of your stream. I did see when Heine was on, but maybe I zoned out that bit of the.
Well, it was kind of funny because he was kind of intoxicated. It was pretty obvious he had been drinking. I didn't bring it up and he was like, "Oh, blah blah blah. Yeah, you're a part of this." And I was like, "Are we talking about that publicly now?" And he's like, "Yeah, whatever." And I was like, "Drunk Heidi, let's go."
I genuinely must have missed that part of your stream, because I do remember watching it, and I was doing other things at the time, as happens, as I kind of like to listen to streams in the background. But I clearly must have missed that point, because I'm really, really upset now. I'm really, really genuinely sad about this.
No, it's.
I am gonna send Hiney a bit of a begging message after this.
It is worth pointing out that the very first line in this thread says, "Welcome to the first public round of the TKL1," which leads me to believe that it could be run again. Potentially with a higher unit cap.
Maybe we shall see. We shall see.
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see as Jake cries. But while you're wallowing in your sadness over the Friends and Family TKL1 group by Jay, why don't you tell us a little bit about our next topic?
Sure. Okay, so next up we are going to jump over to a key set. Changing things up, guys. We told you we were going to change things up, and here is the first change. It's not a keyboard. We are going to switch and go between. But the first thing we wanted to talk about this week is DCS Alps Pingmaster. This is from Franco and Freddington, who've done a few of the bits and pieces in the community as well. And the reason I wanted to talk about this is for a couple of points. One, who doesn't love a Pingmaster? And two, we need more DCS in the community. So we see a lot of profiles. We see a lot of keycaps. DCS was one of the original kind of profiles that we saw a lot of colorways running. So we saw Hyperfuse running there. There was Midnight and a few other bits. And DCS Turtle as well, or Turtle Power, I think it was called. Things like that. We don't see enough DCS anymore. And that's always been a bit of a bugbear to me, that we don't see it out there in group buys, and certainly not the Alps variant either. We tend to see occasionally the MX version crop up, and maybe something will get rerun on Pimp My Keyboard. But here we've got Franco and Freddington, and they've wanted to bring back DCS Alps, but with a Pingmaster theme. And this just looks genuinely really, really interesting. So to talk about the actual keycaps, first of all, they're going to be using PBT keycaps, and they're going to be die subbed, which is absolutely something that Signature Plastics has been doing for a long time. So I think we can be completely comfortable in terms of how they're going to turn out. They follow a kind of classic colorway, with also, for some of the weebs out there, they have got these kind of Japanese sub-legends on there.
No, Jay, don't fall into the trap that everyone is falling into. Just because it has sub-legends doesn't mean it's a weeb set.
Yeah, maybe not. These ones are the katakana modifiers. I can take or leave those personally, but I just really like this because of what the set stands for and what it's about. And they've kind of broken it out into a few different kits. So we've got a base kit which gives broad coverage for everything up to a TKL. There's no ISO compatibility in there, but we'll talk about that in a second. But you have got coverage for pretty much everything else, including, if you really want it, you can do HHKB and 7U bottom rows and all that kind of stuff. The next kit, they're bringing back Big Ass Enter. When was the last time we saw Big Ass Enter in a group buy?
You know what? I think in a group buy, I don't know, but I recall a couple of years ago I bought a no-name PBT black on black set from KBDfans that was like $40, included Big Ass Enter.
They had the train set as well.
I was
the green train.
So surprised. Yes. That was one of the first sets in our community that really took advantage of reverse die sub, and it kind of flew under the radar, honestly. A lot of people don't even remember that set. That's a good history lesson.
Really good, actually. It's really high quality. You know, if you don't notice reverse die sub until you look at it, it's actually really good. So they've got Big Ass Enter in there as well, which is kind of interesting because I'm not sure how many people are going to do that. I'm not even sure if there's any PCBs that support it.
I mean, like 3 people are probably going to use this key, and it's probably going to be a highly custom situation, I would imagine.
Yes. Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I'm tempted to use it.
It's cool either way, right? I mean, it's cool.
Yeah,
it's just
it is really cool. There's also numpads and ISO, which is great for everyone else that needs a little bit of additional stuff. And then there's also some accents too. But I just think this is kind of it's kind of unique. You know, I like vintage stuff. Like, everyone knows that a lot of my stuff is inspired by vintage things. Like, I don't make any secret of that. I have a huge thing for vintage keyboards. And this is kind of bringing something of that back for a modern Alps build. And what I would really genuinely love to be able to do is get that hiney TKL1, this keycap set, and build it Alps. That's kind of like my dream right now. This week, that is what I have my heart set
Oh man, that would be quite a build. That would be quite a build.
I've literally just had shipped 150 brown Alps. This is what I want to do with it.
Jay's got a plan.
I have. Now I just need Hiney to be an absolute legend and be my favorite person in the world. like genuinely, this excites me. Like if I could have a Hiney TKL one, brown Alps lubed with a dry lube, and this keycap set, that's almost endgame to me.
Ooh, don't throw around that word so easily, Jay.
That's this month's endgame to me. This month's
endgame. There you go. Thank you for clearing that up for me. All right, yeah. I mean, it looks fantastic, and it's been so long since I've built or even owned an Alps custom that, man, this is one of those sets I feel like I need to buy. Do we have any kind of information on pricing yet?
There isn't anything in there. I think they need to finalize the kits and colors and get some vendors and stuff like that. So yes, I kind of want to see it come up. There is a couple of things I do want to call out as well. So they've given some special acknowledgements to AIO3 for this because they got his blessing, because they thought it looked a little bit too similar to Simple JA, but AIO3 thought it was completely separate. So there is no dramas there. If anyone wants to bring that up, there's no issues. Everyone's comfortable with it. And I think the next steps for this one are for them to find some vendors, sort out some pricing, confirm the colours. I think we've got a good idea of what they're going to look like, but they'll want to try and match them back to the old Pingmaster keycaps as best as possible, and take it forward. So yeah,
very very interesting project here. Also very interesting that it's going to be. You said it's going to be PBT, right?
Yeah, this is going to be PBT dice up.
When was the last time you saw a dice up PBT DCS set?
I was trying to think about this before, and I think we've had, I think, and not all of the Alps DCS sets PBT.
Are the older Alps DCS sets also thicker?
No, I think the Alps. So I think the PBT and the DCS. I'm gonna have to get some out, right? I think the PBT and the ABS DCS. Oh gosh, all the acronyms here. The PBT and the ABS DCS caps are both the same thickness, if I remember rightly. I'll get some out and I'll double check that. I've got sets of both somewhere. I will dig them out and I'll check that.
Gotcha. Okay. Interesting.
Oh, DCS Yuri was ABS. Oh, was it? Okay, I didn't actually buy that, which I'm really annoyed about.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that was ABS. I legitimately cannot think of a PBT DCS set off the top of my head. But regardless, color me interested. Alps, a big part of our community's history, and it's often a really cool product. Even if admittedly, I don't think a lot of the Alps switches hold up to some of the more modern MX variants. But hey, it's.
I'm gonna take a hot take out there. If I'm going, So I used to like tactile switches. If I'm gonna go tactile now, you better believe it's Alps or I'm going linears. If I have to use MX, it's gonna be a linear.
All right, fair enough.
There you go.
There you go, hot take. All right, fair enough. Well, I mean, regardless, I think the set looks quite nice, and this set has me kind of thinking if I want to make some kind of Alps build as well, because it's looking nice. All right, let's move over back to keyboards to quite an interesting one that I think some people have been waiting for quite a while here. This is the Trivium keyboard, the MP. Actually, what's the actual name of this keyboard? It's the MP Challenge, right? And Trivium keyboard is the studio that's doing it? Is that how this works?
Yes. So Trivium Keyboards is the name of the studio, and MP Challenge is the name of the board, as far as I understand it. Yeah.
Okay. Interesting. So that title is a little misleading to me when you lead with Trivium keyboard. But hey, that's just me. Regardless, this is a very interesting TKL that uses an aluminum housing, a 7.5 degree angle. There's going to be some brass upgrade parts as well. And this is a very, very different looking kind of keyboard. This is a very kind of love it or hate it style of design, I feel like. And curious of what your thoughts on this one are, Jay.
I think we have to go back and look at some of the old.
The interest check has,
because it is a little bit different to in terms of how it works to a lot of boards. I'm trying to find the original kind of designs as to how it all plugs together. But effectively, you've got a plate that slides inside the main cover, and then you've got a bottom case that kind of wraps around it as well. So it's kind of not a top mount or a bottom mount. It's kind of not really a sandwich mount either, because the plate slides into the case. I can't find the pictures now anyway.
Didn't there used to be a picture of it, wasn't there?
There used to be a whole thread in the interest check. There used to be a whole series of pictures of how the board was going to fit together and everything else. But it appears that those pictures have gone. Either way, it is a really interesting take on a new way of putting a piece, kind of like a keyboard together. We generally have some way of fastening things or gasket mounting things. And whilst this does use a kind of gasket system, it has rubber strips. This kind of has grooves that you slide together. It is more like an IKEA keyboard than anything else. This is what, like, genuinely it is though, right? Because it's like how to put together an IKEA chair. This is that you're going to need that kind of manual for this, I think. Just like where to slide stuff and how to clip things together. I think that's where it's going to be. So it's really interesting from that perspective. I think the styling is going to be contentious. A lot of people are going to dislike it.
Yeah.
A lot of people are going to really, really like it, though.
Yes.
I mean, if you remember how these guys are the guys behind the Lustro keyboard as well.
Yeah.
And if you remember
the Weavin. I don't know why I couldn't think of it right there. Right.
Yes, the Weavin.
Yeah, Lustro and Weavin were by the same people, if I recall, originally. So yeah, very out there kind of designs, and I mean the Weavin and Lustro are the same kind of thing, right? They both stand out heavily, among other keyboards, aesthetically particularly. So I feel like this is kind of no change here. I think it's very interesting. This feels like a very Star Trek future-esque kind of product when you look at the side profile. I'm a really big fan of that. I actually think the aesthetics are really nice here. However, 150 unit cap, $480 starting price for a base kit, and interestingly enough, it's offered. Let me go back to the group buy thread. Actually, it's offered in quite a few colors, but if you want one of the Cerakoting options, it's going to cost you an extra $200 by the looks of it.
That's
pretty enormous, considering. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but isn't Cerakoting usually one of the cheaper finishing options?
I mean, Cerakote is usually a little bit more expensive than anodization because it's like an additional type of additive process. It's a lot more manual, but either way, it's kind of expensive for them to add that. Looking at how this is broken down, unless I'm misunderstanding how they've got the form linked here, I think that's the case. Some of the additional brass pieces are really pricey as well. $365 for a base. That's pretty up there. So we'll see how it goes, and they're only doing 20 Cerakoted kits as well. So they're not doing all of them Cerakoted. So you may or may not get the choice to have a Cerakote option depending on your choice.
Yeah, it seems kind of interesting. Maybe they don't have quite all the details ironed out here. It looks like they were originally planning on running this on Z Frontier, but it looks like that's been having some issues. So I believe he's going to be running the group by himself, which I saw earlier. Yeah, he's going to be hosting it himself. Starting June 20th, and it's going to start 9 a.m. on Saturday, June 20th, and that's someone asked time zone. Here we go, GMT +7. So there you go, guys. He doesn't actually have the info in the original post, which is very unfortunate. He should definitely edit in where the group buy is and what time it's going to be, especially for a group buy thread. Kind of bummed to not see it in the original post. So definitely, if you're watching, which you're probably not, please add that into the original post. People shouldn't have to scroll in the comments to find the actual group buy information.
Yeah, one of the really interesting things about this as well is the weight of it. So so the actual standard aluminium kit, this is just the aluminium kit, is 7.5 kilograms. So I don't know what that is in US units. Let's.
I'm sorry. How much did you say it was?
7.5 kilograms is 16.5 pounds. 16, and that's just the aluminium version. That's the standard aluminum. Sorry, aluminum, guys.
Wait, really?
If you go for the brass version, is around 22 kilograms, and 22 kilograms is just shy of 50 pounds.
That seems oddly high.
That seems crazy high.
How can the all aluminum version be that heavy?
I mean, it does have thick bezels. I mean, look at the size of those bezels. It's a big old board.
You're right. It is an enormous board, all things considered. But man, that's like
I do feel like there's something something wrong with this, because this is because he clarifies this. So someone in the actual the thread, it gives two different numbers, but this is from the comments. So there's a comment from I overcall his something or other. I can't read the username. It's 7.5 kilograms is he asked the question, or is 7.5 kilograms the weight if the whole thing is brass? And then Pervos, who started the thread, he comes back and says, yes, if the whole thing is made with brass, the approximate weight is around 22 kilograms. So
if the whole thing is made in brass, that's
the whole thing is made in 22 kilograms.
That seems oddly high. I mean, I get it's a lot of material, but it's not like that enormous of a board. It's still just a TKL.
Crazy.
I found some pictures in the thread that sort of show how the keyboard slides together from the bottom, based off this kind of prototype image that I'm showing here. Not the best picture for this, but at least it kind of shows you the kind of outline here of how it slides together.
Yeah, so the plate kind of slides in, and then you slide the base on as well, and it kind of clips to the back. Yeah.
Yeah, they used to have the picture in this thread, if I recall. I don't know why they took it out.
Yeah, there used to be a whole kind of...
When we covered the interest check originally, it was certainly there.
Yeah.
Unless I'm just misremembering.
Oh, I have found it. Let me put the link into chat. There is a little GIF on this page about a third response down.
Ah, okay. Little video here, I guess.
Yeah, so you can kind of see how it plugs together in this. So 10 Strong's asking, are the little plugs that go inside? No, there's kind of like little grooves that go in the side that help you slide the plate in.
It's like a brace. Like a
but the holes don't go all the way through. It's kind of like it's probably a bit of an optical illusion. Like the hole is just carved into the sides to kind of give you grips to pick it up. It's not. Yeah, it doesn't go all the way through. It's kind of, it does have solid sides. It's not like you can see through end to end.
Yeah, I mean, I honestly think it's a really interesting keyboard, but like we said before, it's probably going to be pretty polarizing. I think the people that like this are going to really like it, and the people that dislike this are probably going to really dislike this. So, but that's fine. Products like that are certainly not a bad thing, and I think it's totally fine to do stuff like that. And it's interesting, it's innovative, and it's kind of fun. And it seems
I'd
nice.
absolutely love to check it out. Like genuinely, if someone buys one of these, I would love to check it out.
Yes, absolutely. And to be fair, $480 starting price, it's not really that expensive, all things considered. I mean, we just checked out the hiney TKL, which is visually much more simple, and it's more expensive. So this could be an interesting product, but we'll have to wait and see. Definitely, some of the extras seem a little pricey, but for a base kit, it could be an interesting product to check out. And, either whether it's Jay or myself, we'd love to build one of these if any of you are out there buying one.
If someone gets one of these, just let us know. I'll build it for free.
I'll build it for free, yeah. I'll happily build one of these for free just to check it out. So there is that as well. So there you go, guys. That is the Trivium.
Yeah. £50, man. That's crazy.
I don't believe that. I gotta be honest. I don't really believe it. I'd have to see it.
The heaviest board I've ever built was, I won't share his username on here, but it was an elephant, the S7, the round one, and it was all brass, like solid brass. And man, did that thing smell bad. Like it's like, I like a bit of brass, but it smelled of brass. Like,
wow.
Like my office in here, it just smelled like brass for days and days and days afterwards. I hope that goes away with time. But I think that was something like 12 kilograms, I think, and that was stupidly heavy. Like I could barely pick it up, like because it was kind of flush sides. Like trying to lift it off the desk, the only way I could do it was to slide it to the edge and then lift it upwards.
That board is enormous too. That board has to be bigger than this, right? I'm tempted to go check out the build stream that I did for it, because there's just chunks of brass that are like solid chunks of brass in there. There's just this whole piece of brass that's been machined. Really, really heavy. I mean, a fantastic finish, fantastic quality, and Jackie did a great job with that group buy. And that board was something else. It didn't sound great, but it was something else. Like, you don't buy an all brass board because it sounds good. You buy it because it's really expensive and you want to show it off to people. Let's be real.
I think it cost £111, which is about $135 to ship it back.
That's outrageous. With that in mind, we've been on this topic for a while now. So group buy coming on the 20th, guys, and look forward to the information in the thread, hopefully, so you guys can know where to actually join the group buy.
Yes. All right. Yeah. If someone gets one and wanted building, let me know because I'm interested.
Yeah. Why don't you tell us about our next key set topic, Jay?
Yeah, so jumping back over to Keysets, we've got something that's just gone live just a few hours before the show. And this is MT3 Extended 2048. So you might remember Bit did Extended 2048 already. That's been a key set that's run and gone. And he's bringing it back now for MT3. So this is kind of interesting because it's going to run in December on drop. So it's coming kind of soon. You know, it's 6 months away, but it's happening. But the really interesting thing about this is they've already got samples. They actually have samples of this. So we'll scroll down and we'll see them right at the very end. We'll talk about the samples. But it's basically bringing that whole kind of Apple aesthetic to the MT3 profile. And you know what? It really works. This actually looks really, really good. This is kind of what... this is the model equivalent for me of those old AEK keycaps. So one of my favorite boards I have is the Borsdorf, which uses AEK keycaps. I've bought like 7 vintage AEK boards with varying different legends and things, and I've got a Thai one, I've got an Arabic one, I've got a UK one, blah blah blah. You know, I genuinely love the font on those keycaps, and this is bringing it back to MT3 profile. And this looks really, really, really good. This looks better than I would have thought it would have done. This looks better than the other versions of Extended 2048 as well. This actually looks really good, and it's in a unique profile. It's an MT3, something we don't see too many key sets running. Yeah, I think we've seen a few different rounds of Dev TTY, and we've seen Serica. There's rumors of SNES going to MT3 as well, but we haven't seen anything concrete on that. And here we have something that's really classy, really clean, and just really suits that vintage aesthetic of those legends on kind of a vintage-inspired profile. And I think this just looks really, really nice. This genuinely speaks to me on a fundamental keyboard nerd level. This says, this is what you want to buy. This is something that's going to be usable going forwards. What do you think, Sir Brian? What are your thoughts on this?
I completely agree with you. I think this looks like a complete home run. I'm not completely sold on the MT3 profile. I have used it before. Obviously, it is a relatively new profile to the community, all things considered, only a few years old at this point. I was a part of the original Dev TTY run. You know, I got it, I tried it. It wasn't entirely for me. It's, of course, modeled after the original IBM beam spring caps, so a lot of history there, and they do a fantastic job. The quality of the caps themselves are actually quite high quality, and it feels pretty nice to type on. If I typed a little bit more properly, I think I'd appreciate the sculpt a little bit more, because the sculpt to me, with my kind of freeform typing style, feels a little too aggressive, but I do appreciate it for what it is. You're right about the legends, though. I completely agree. This is a great interpretation of this. I think the colors are great, the legends are great, and this just looks like a complete home run for Beep again. Big surprise, right?
Yeah, it's Beep, right? You wouldn't expect anything less. But there's a couple of things. Like I find that the sculpt actually really works well. Like you, I have an unorthodox typing technique. It's not technically the greatest, but it works for me, and that's all it needs to do. It just needs to work for me, right?
Yeah.
And I tend to find that MT3 helps me be more accurate because it cups your fingers in such a nice way and it kind of sucks your fingers into them. I tend to be more accurate when I'm using it. I'm relatively accurate anyway. I usually hover in the kind of mid-90s in terms of accuracy when I do typing tests. I'm not the fastest, 60 to 70 words a minute, but you know, in terms of accuracy, this genuinely helps me. It doesn't slow me down either. It kind of has the look of SA. One of the big things in this hobby that I can never get over is how good SA looks on a keyboard, but how crappy it is to use. Like, I just genuinely can't use it unless it's the row 3 version of SA, and then I'm all right with it because it's just like a higher DSA then. But I do really struggle with SA. It kind of gives me wrist hurt. It makes my wrist hurt and gives me finger pains and cramps. MT3 kind of stops all of that. HSA also stops that as well because it's half the height.
Interesting.
And HSA as well. But MT3 I don't get that problem with. And one of the big regrets I have is actually selling my Elven set of MT3. In fact, I didn't sell it. I gave it away at a meetup. But giving that away because I kind of miss it. And I don't have Susawatari yet because it hasn't shipped. So I think this is going to have to be certainly on the list up there for me, because this just looks really good. And right down at the bottom, you've got the pictures up now, but they do actually have samples of this. Now, the colours aren't finalised, and it's just a grayscale sample, so the colour is going to be slightly different. It's going to have that kind of more yellowy, milky kind of texture to it. Colour to it. But they do have samples showing the legends and improving the concept, and I think it looks great. I think that's a Doro 67 it's on. I think.
Something like that. I don't know. I'm not a big fan of the Doro board, so I don't.
Yeah, same.
I don't really
Well, it was the worst group I ever joined, but
yeah.
I think it's a Doro 67. It's on there, but it actually looks really good there. Looks really good.
Yeah, I think the set itself just looks really nice, and it's probably going to look pretty darn nice on pretty much regardless of what you want to use it on, because I feel like this is kind of just one of those more neutral sets that kind of fits with a lot of scenarios. I'm a really big fan of that. I'm not terribly surprised they have samples. Obviously, Mateo, the person behind MT3 Profile, works with Drop. I'm pretty sure Drop owns the molds, if I'm not mistaken, for MT3, so... because they're behind all the manufacturing, it's not terribly surprising we can kind of pump out some samples a little quickly, because all they have to do is say, hey, do that, and then they do. So it's not like we're working with a third-party manufacturer here. They're still working directly with Drop, whether that's good or bad for you. I'll leave that up to you to decide. But, yeah, this is kind of interesting, and even though I'm not the biggest fan of MT3, this is starting to look pretty nice, and I'm considering getting this regardless. I do like to support Beep.
Yeah, I just think this just looks really good. Like Beep asked me before the show whether we were going to cover it or not, and with the whole kind of way we're going to restructure the show, I didn't want to promise anything or say no, and kind of I was just like, send me the link when it's live and we'll have a look at it. And I was genuinely pleasantly surprised when I opened the link and I kind of looked at it and saw what it was. And yeah, I just think this has got a real class to it. And it gives me the ability to have that look that I've got on my Borsdorf boards on other things as well. So, yeah. The only thing I'm not keen on is... Yeah. The only thing I'm not keen on is the accent modifiers, the coloured accents. I kind of don't feel that they work with it, but that's just me. That's personal.
Yeah. Fair enough. Someone in chat was asking what keyboard this is. This is rendered on the Omega 60. But the key set is what we're taking a look at on this topic currently. As it's rendered on lots of keyboards here. HBCP, Zenith,
number 2.
K, yeah. Number 2, of course, always the old standby. The M65A. This keyboard is crazy. The fact that people still render on this keyboard always takes me by surprise. Because usually it's always like the new hot keyboards, your key cults, your TGRs. But the M65A is like a 3 or 4 year old keyboard at this point, and
2016, right?
Yeah, it's the vendor that ran it hasn't been in business for or hasn't truly been in business for a while. So. It's always kind of interesting to me that we still see so many sets rendered on the M65A. Kind of iconic. Yeah, guys, so that's MT3 Extended 2048 coming soon, courtesy of Beep. Look forward to that, guys. And let's move over to what might be my favorite topic of, I don't know, the month? The year, maybe? I don't know. This is quite something, and this is definitely something to think about and talk about. So... This is, I'm going to scroll down here just a second, guys, don't worry. This is the interest check for the Heavy Grail, which is the Norbauer version HHKB. So, obviously, we've seen multiple projects in the past from Norbauer. We've seen the Norba Touch, we've seen the Norba Force, which coincide with the Nova Touch and Real Force TKL, respectively. He's a big fan of Topra. He likes bringing Topra to the custom forefront, and he does a fantastic job doing it. His quality is second to none. He uses a lot of US-based manufacturing. His eye for detail and his attention to quality is just really, really high level, super top tier, and I think we're going to see a lot more of that here as well. So he's been working on this for multiple years. He says he's put about $40,000 in R&D into this project alone. So that's enormous, and we know that's probably potentially very true because not a lot of people take on the custom HHKB aspect of the community because it's so difficult, because it has that two-piece design with the integrated plate. You need sliders, you need domes, you need springs. It's very, very intricate process, very detailed, but he thinks he has the solution here, and it's looking pretty darn interesting. So I'm going to run off a few specs for you here while I go through the pictures as well. So I think that the housing itself is going to be aluminum, but you're going to have a steel bottom plate, and the switch plate itself here, which also kind of has the integrated housings, if you will, is going to be injection molded ABS plastic. Not really surprising, obviously. The integrated plate on the HHKB, also plastic. It's an all-plastic board, basically, so nothing surprising there. There's going to be an internal dampener. There's going to be a couple versions. One that supports the HHKB Pro 2, of which there are tons in the wild, and then the much newer HHKB Pro 3 Classic. So a couple different varieties here. You're going to have to repurpose your domes and springs, though. So you're going to have to harvest those from a stock HHKB and put those in here. And I'm assuming you're going to have to harvest the sliders as well. So, not terribly surprising here, but instead of an integrated plate, it looks like it's going to be more of a top mount kind of affair, which I'll kind of show off here with the mounting styles. We don't know if the plate's going to be pink. He says it's kind of just there to show the color difference from the case, so we don't actually know what the final colors are going to be yet.
Well, I think he mentions white, doesn't he? He says it's most likely to be white.
Oh, for the plate? Okay. Yeah, I guess it could be. But how do you feel about? I know you're not much of a Topra guy, but this is kind of groundbreaking stuff in our hobby. How do you feel about this?
It's absolutely huge. I mean, so you have to harvest some parts from your existing board, but this is kind of like what the community's been working towards for a long time. There's been a load of people that have been looking at kind of options for this and testing out ideas. I know Zondat's been looking at it from Noxra keyboards and a few other people as well. And the fact that Nobauer has actually managed to get this far, I mean, obviously he's invested heavily into it. Like, a lot of people invest heavily into prototyping. That's no secret. $5,000 or whatever for an average board before it goes to group buy. That's not unheard of. In fact, that's probably more common than people realize. But $40,000 is a huge amount of money that he's invested into this to try and get it going and get it working. One of the interesting things as well is later down in the thread, he also mentions that he might do a Veracity Steel version if enough people are interested. And I think that might be what gets me on board for this. A steel version?
I can't even begin to imagine what that's going to look like and what it's going to cost. Cost is another thing that's really surprising here. He's aiming for about $650. That's the current estimate for a base kit of this. That's surprisingly good. When we're kind of thinking of all the parts that are going into it and all the R&D that he's so obviously put into this as well. I had dinner with Norbauer before the 2018 Seattle meetup, and him and I were talking about this. We were talking about this product. Like, he's been working on this for years, and he's put so much time, effort, and resources into it. I'm just so excited to actually see this thing come to fruition, and this is going to be a must-buy for me. I'm not going to be able to avoid this one, regardless of pretty much how it comes out, just because it's just so freaking interesting.
Yeah, like there's been hints and tips coming. Like when Nobauer was showing off his new drawer cabinets on Instagram, you could see the prototype for this in the drawer, and loads of people commented on it. But we didn't think it was actually functional, actually working. We didn't think he'd really cracked it. We was just kind of like, oh yeah, he's still working on it. It's still one of those projects that he's got ongoing, and that was 6-8 months ago, and yet here we are. He's done it. He's ready to sell a product, which means for Nobauer's level of standards, that it must be up there. It must be incredibly good. It must be just what he's expecting it to be, because Nobauer has very exacting standards. He doesn't release a product unless he's confident in it. So to see that is huge.
Yeah, it's the same reason. We've heard this from him before, but it's like the same reason he doesn't sell like B stock units. He doesn't want things out there in the wild that are imperfect with his name on it. So, like, he just doesn't, sell B-stock units and stuff like that. So we know his quality is very high. He doesn't let imperfect units outside of the door. Everything is pretty much entirely A-stock at its finest. And, the prices are often higher because of that. But I think here the price is fairly reasonable, all things considered. We'll have to wait and see, what the base kit fully encompasses and what you get, for that price once the group buy actually goes live, though. Because I'm really excited for that, and it looks like it's not going to be too far away. Could be in the coming months here. Are you going to get one of these, Jay? Is this going to be? Do you think this is going to be a Topra board for you?
If this might be the one that makes me buy HHKB finally, because it's one board I've never owned. Like, I've had a Real Force, and it was all right, and it was fine, but this might be the one thing that makes me buy a HHKB.
Yeah, and a couple people in chat are talking about the price. The price, honestly, it seems high, but I don't think it's nearly as high as it could have been, given other custom HHKB possibilities, and the fact that he's put so much effort and money behind this project, I don't think the price is really that asinine. If you think about it, this isn't going to be like your mass market product for the masses and your everyday Joe. Like, this is for the people that really care about that super top tier Norbauer quality. Because, you know, that's what you pay for when you buy a Norbauer product. This is some premium shit, guys. This isn't like your entry-level products. So I think the price is fine here. I think it's definitely lower than it could have been, given potential other outcomes.
I mean, the big thing you've got to consider here is that he's put 40 grand of his own money in. He has to try and make that back. I mean, this is a product. He's trying to keep his business afloat and keep it going. And that means that you can't make a loss. You have to either break even or make a profit. If he's put that much money into kind of developing this, then the price is, you know, going to be high naturally just because he has to do it. I mean, the actual injection molding for this kind of stuff, once you get the kind of molds for that down, it's actually pretty cheap to actually do the injection molding. But getting to that point where you're ready to do the injection molding is the expensive part. We've seen that with things like the NK65, you know, with its plastic injection molded case and things. The price is really good and really low because Mike can do so many units of it. But of course, still the case needs CNC milling and everything else. So when people complain about the price, they have to realize how much it's taken in terms of product time and effort to get this off the ground and get it to where it is, and that money has to be recouped some way.
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of people don't think about a lot of the hidden costs behind too. Not just the R&D and the prototyping, but a lot of the times, you know, when you run into issues as well. I see Ted Strong in chat asking about previous Norbaforce runs. I think he's run a couple of them, but that doesn't necessarily mean he's making a killing on them. I remember he had lots of finishing issues on the second Norbaforce run. He had to pay out of pocket to get a lot of them refinished. I'm pretty sure he lost money on that round last time I talked to him. So I mean, it's not always insane like profits like everyone thinks they are for these designers and vendors. That's not how it always works, guys.
Yeah, the margins are not huge on anything that runs in this hobby. They
like this isn't the hobby you want to be in if you're trying to make a killing. It's really not.
The other thing I want to point out to Tenstrong here as well is how many runs of the Norbaforce has he ran? I'm assuming he's hit break even. That's on those projects. You can't say that, oh, because he's made a profit on previous projects, he can sell this one cheaper and maybe at a loss. That's not how business works. You know, he's saying now, I don't think people should give products leeway because the creator's deeper in cost. That's how business works. That's genuinely how business works. Whatever R&D costs are, you have to recoup those in kind of doing the business.
That's where costs come from.
Yeah, that's where
that's literally where the cost comes from. It's the money that's put into it on the back end. And so the product gets sold to recoup those costs, and usually to make a profit as well.
Break even or make a profit, and usually they're not there to break even; they're there to make a profit. You can't have a business that makes a loss on something, even if that's for the good of the community at a whole. That's not how businesses work.
Yeah, I know for a fact Norbauer's not in this hobby to make money either. He's
very open about that.
He's very, very open about that, and he's not here for that. So I don't know. I don't think he's trying to. It sounds like maybe you're saying he's trying to like rob people. Maybe this cost is just way too astronomically high. I kind of disagree, to be totally honest. I think the price seems pretty reasonable for what it is, and the fact that, to be fair, it has no competition either. I mean, who else is doing custom HHKB at this point?
Well, no, because it costs too much.
We saw Rama. We saw Rama talk about it for years, but nothing actually came to fruition about that. Even though he put out some very interesting looking renders and stuff, but it's a very big undertaking. Yeah, and I don't think it's necessarily fair to Norbauer just to be like, cost is too high. It's not really. I mean, like you can say that the like Melodette tries to clarify. So I get what Ten is saying. He's saying that the price can be justified on the business end, which is what we talked about, but not on the customers. I mean, and then that becomes the customer's choice at that point. They can either choose to buy or not buy. They don't have to buy it. And I know that's a really awful thing to say and a really awful way of putting it, but it's the blunt choice that you have. You can choose. You have to vote with your wallets on this. If you don't like to buy it at that price, I mean, Norbauer knows the market. He knows probably broadly how many of these are going to sell and how many aren't. He knows where the market is, and he knows how many he has to sell to make his money back, or to get to whatever level he's comfortable making a break-even point. Whether that's the $40,000 he's invested in this, or whether it's less, or whether it's more, whatever. He knows where that market is. It's up to you guys whether you want to try and take that.
It can be absorbed as a business over subsequent round, and maybe that's what he's planned on. Maybe he has, because I mean, if you think about it, how many of these are going to sell realistically? Is he going to sell?
No, it's 500? a very niche. It's a very niche product, most likely. It's not like he's going to be selling millions of these.
Yeah, and so if he sells 100 of these, then he's not going to make his money back. So it will absolutely be over a couple of rounds. He's a very kind of shrewd businessman, and I'm sure he knows how to play the market in terms of making sure that people can get a product that they want at a good price that's acceptable to them, and also to make sure that he breaks even as a businessman.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think Norbauer should have to like give away this board for free to make people happy just because he's put $40,000 into R&D. I very much think as a business he should be trying to make that back, because at the core, that's how business works. Like, you put money into research and development, and then you try to make, some kind of profit. You try to make that money back, and you try to hopefully make some kind of profit. And it doesn't always work. Sometimes, like on Norbauer's projects, sometimes you lose money. That's just how some of his projects go. Some of the other projects in the community, that's how they go as well. Like, you don't always make money on everything. It's not a cash cow. And it's kind of obnoxious that so many people seem to think it is.
Yeah, we don't have the massive economies of scale that some big businesses do to kind of absorb these costs. Like $40,000 for like Razer or Corsair or anything like that, that'd be nothing. They'd probably spend that without even thinking about prototyping something.
And you're also not taking into account like time and effort. Years of this man's life has gone into designing this. Years of his life. So many hours and so many days this man has put into it. He's got to get something back. You can't just do everything out of the good of your heart for the community, right? I don't know, man. This project is looking really cool to me, and I'm very, very excited. And I'm okay that it costs $650, because I'm probably going to buy it either way regardless, so... Very, very much looking forward to that. But with that said, we've been on this topic for a while, so we should probably go ahead and move along. But that's actually going to wrap up our news doc for the day. So we are going to move over to a Q&A segment where I imagine we'll probably have multiple questions about, maybe some of our future transitions as well as some other things. So we're going to talk about our sponsors for just a moment here, guys. Some of the great vendors that help keep Top Clack alive and afloat. And, then we're going to be going and answering some Q&A questions. So go ahead and start asking questions now if you guys wish. You can use the @TopClack tag. It helps us pick the questions out of the chat a lot easier. So very much appreciate if you guys do that. If you don't, we might skip the question. But just keep that in mind, guys. All right, so first and foremost, we have the wonderful, the one and only Novel Keys. They've been with us for a very long time, and gosh darn it, we sure do love them, Jay. They have lots of things going on right now, but yes, exactly. Where's mine? I have my Gator Ron right here. I'll go with the Ron this time.
My Ron's on the shelf.
I'll go with the Ron today.
He's just up on the shelf out of you there, just above the tower board.
I'll go. Maybe next week I'll go with the olive. I'll go with the good Ron, the good boy this week. So we have GMK Boneyard is still available over on Novel Keys. That's Tom Burry's newest set. That delightful kind of shoot off of GMK Carbon still available. We also have GMK Midnight Rainbow. So maybe if you like the original GMK Rainbow, but you wanted a little bit more subdued like me, then this could be something totally for you. It also has Cam Ghost, which is that kind of matte PBT cam set that we talked about, I think, last week on the show. That's looking quite unique as well, and you can get a base kit of that for a pretty low price. I think it only costs about $80 to outkit quite a few boards, so not too bad there. And lots of other things in stock, whether you want desk mats, maybe some switches, stabilizers, I don't know, key pullers, you want an olive plushie that Jay was showing off. He's probably got you covered. Maybe some of the new tactile blueberry switches. He's pretty much a one-stop shop these days, and he has quite a few things. He needs to restock the Gator Rons, though. That needs to get restocked if they're not already.
I heard that's happening. I did hear that was happening.
I hope that's happening. This is like the one product that always needs to stay in stock, I feel like. But regardless of what you're buying there, if you're buying in stock, make sure you use the promo code ClickClack. That's one word, all lowercase. That'll get you 5% off your order, and it'll show that maybe you like Top Clack, even if just a little bit.
Yeah, I'm kind of sad that I didn't get to talk about Cam Ghost when he talked about it last week, because I kind of like...
Are you a fan of that one?
Yeah,
it's a cool set.
A low contrast set, right? A low contrast set is,
something.
It's not.
A lot of people think that low contrast like automatically means bad, but that's not really the case. It's just different. Anyway, sorry, Jay. Continue.
No, jumping over to Kona Docstore, who is our second sponsor of today. Just a couple of things to call out from here. So first of all, they have got EPBT Ivory up now for sale in group buy. You can pick this up. You can support the elephants and the poaching and everything else. Well, not support the poaching, but support against the poaching. Let's be clear on that one. It is all going to a great cause. You know, I've picked this up. I think Brian was talking about picking this up as well. Not because we want to shield the vendors, but because of the cause behind it, it's really, really worthwhile looking at. And of course, the key set looks great too. So definitely one to check out if you're interested in EPBT Ivory. As well as that, they've also got a ton of pre-orders that you can join if you are interested in those. So if you've missed out on a set recently, or even going all the way back to January, and you want to kind of pick it up now, you can pre-order an absolute ton of different sets on there. So everything from Shark Bait to Ursa to Cat Oasis to SA2600, the second round of that, to GMK Copper. There is absolutely tons and tons on there that you can join and catch up with and get your set shipped when the group buy ships as well. So definitely take a look at those. Finally, if you're looking for something that's kind of low profile, wireless, mechanical keyboard, maybe get a friend into the hobby or anything else like that, then it's definitely worth checking out the Hex Gear set. They've got Gemini, X1, and Venture all in stock, all shipping pretty much immediately. So definitely take a look at those as well, because they're really good keyboard. In fact, actually, has that changed? It's now says pre-order.
For the which one?
The Gemini. So the Gemini is back onto pre-order. I was just looking there. The Gemini is back onto pre-order. It's not in stock anymore, but it was in stock when I looked earlier on today. So they must have sold out quite recently.
Yeah, but, they go surprisingly fast, actually.
They're good keyboards for the money, though. That's why they're good.
Yeah, they're good. They're good, like entry-level OEM keyboards. They honestly are.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. So next up, we have the one and only KBDfans, who has numerous things going on, of course, as usual. So if this is your preferred vendor, then Enjoy PBT Ivory, of course, is over here as well, and it's still supporting the Save the Elephants cause. So definitely a good one to support. It's still a very low price, to only $75 for a pretty decent base kit. Honestly, not a bad buy. So, barring that, they have lots of other things going on. They have Enjoy PBT Cool Kids, which is another one of Beep's sets running right now. This is that kind of playful, I think it almost started as an April Fool's joke, if I recall. But yeah, we have kind of that kind of fun, whimsical Enjoy PBT set there. Also have the KBD Mark II pad. That's still going on right now, so if you're in the market for a very inexpensive numpad that's still relatively nice and decent, that could be up for you as well. They also have a few more products going on here. They have the TTC Gold Pink switches, which are fairly new. Try to find those. Here they are. I've been using those the last few days in my NK65, and they're actually not too shabby. So they sent me some to check out, so I've been using those, and I'll have some more thoughts on those in the near future in an upcoming stream as well. So more on that shortly. They also have a cat set in stock, pretty much the only cat set in stock anywhere in the community that I'm aware of. So if you don't want to wait for some of the nicer cat sets, I think, that are coming out in the market in the coming months, then you want something in your hands right now, and maybe you don't care about how it looks, then this set could be for you. I'm not a fan of how it looks, I got to be honest, but hey, it's an in-stock cat set, and it's under $100, so hard to hate on that.
I bought it just for my workshop board, just so I got something nice to talk on in the workshop. Yeah. It doesn't really matter what's in there. It's just something nice to type on, a nice profile to type on. So yeah, I grabbed it for that.
Yeah, and heck yeah, why not, right? Why not?
Exactly. Moving over to our final sponsor of today, it is Mekanisk, the lovely Leandrin. There's not much in stock at the minute. There's not much going on the site right now. You can just pick up some dampening foam for a range of the keyboards if you want to. And you can also pick up some of the Ultramarine keyboard stabilizers as well if you'd like to. I actually got some of these in this week, so I don't know how clearly you can see that, but
that's nice.
These are genuinely really nice, and there is a little bit of a secret to these as well, which no one else has picked up on as well. But you might see that there's a difference between the housing. There's the housing, and there's the insert.
Well, the insert's opaque, right, and the housing's translucent. It's kind of a little different.
Yeah, there are different materials.
Are they? Okay.
Yes, I was having a chat with Leandrin, because as soon as I got these in, that was the first thing I noticed. They are different materials. So yeah. So I think he's going to put out a bit of an announcement on what the differences are and things like that. But I'm excited to try these out, see if there's any difference to standard Durox stabilizers. So I'll be doing a build this weekend. I think I'm going to build my Doddle 16 instead of my Clipper. So yeah. I'm really excited to try these out and see if they feel any different, because they are different plastics. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see.
Yeah.
And of course, Leandrin has also got the big thing coming this year, hopefully soon, at some point soon, the Tinned as well. So do keep an eye out for that, guys, because
the Tinned,
man, we're getting pretty excited for that one.
I can feel it now. Like, it's actually right around the corner finally. After years of waiting, it's finally around the corner, and I am so freaking pumped for it, man.
I'm gonna be very upset if you don't get one.
If I'm gonna lose my mind if I don't get one. Oh man! All right, I'm gonna.
Also, props to him for risking that keyboard when he took that picture. That's on the, I don't know if you saw that, but he's put the keyboard on a rock in a pool.
Oh yeah, it's an amazing picture. This is such.
I sold him that key set. I sold him that key set as well, which is kind of.
Oh, did you?
It's
That's hilarious.
Yeah,
that's
so
so
that
funny.
he's putting it on a rock in a pond somewhere.
This is such a Mekanisk picture too. It really is. I love it.
He's actually not a bad photographer, you know. He's got an eye for it.
No, he really does. He really does. All right, let's go ahead and get to our Q&A, guys. Go ahead and check this out. Julieta's saying, what do you guys think about Gondo's Sagittarius? To be totally honest, I was planning on adding it to the news doc, but I didn't have enough time before the show to read through the thread. So it'll probably wind up being something we might talk about next week as opposed to this week. So again, I apologize for that, and this is another one of those things that we kind of want to start correcting because of the transitions. We don't want it to necessarily be a game of, like, whose topics are we covering and who we're promoting and stuff, because that's not what Top Clack is supposed to be about, and that's another reason we kind of want to address this. So just keep that in mind, guys. But with that said, Gondo, amazing person, and I'm fully behind like all of his projects that he's done so far, and I'm very much looking forward to checking out the Sagittarius, and we will be talking about it in the future.
Yeah, absolutely. And as we go forwards, when we say that we're not going to talk about everything in the news anymore, and we're going to do things kind of differently, it might be that something comes like a week later after we've had a chance to digest and kind of ruminate on how things are and think things through. So that might be part of the way that we see it as well. You might see things come on. We talk about it a little bit later rather than when the IC just launches, and that kind of gives it a chance to flesh out a little bit as well. We've seen a lot of group buy threads recently and interest check threads start off as one thing and then change to something else, and it's completely different by gets the group buy. So it gives us a chance to kind of look at those as well and let things, mature before we talk about them.
Yeah, definitely. Depleted Vespine is asking, building on the earlier quote-unquote end game of the month theme, what is the keyboard that was your quote-unquote favorite for the shortest time before being replaced with another one? How long short was that period? Interesting question. Yeah.
The answer to me is my VEA, because I bought it because I wanted one since they first came out in group buy. I missed the Korean group buy happened and I wasn't even aware of it, and then the drop one happened and I couldn't justify it at the time. I was literally just paying for a house and a car and all sorts of other stuff all at once. I just couldn't justify it, and it was kind of like in my head it was my end game at that point. I think I even titled build stream endgame build when I actually built it, because of that's how important it was to me. I still have the board, I still love it, but I haven't typed on it in probably 18 months. Like, genuinely, it sits on the wall behind me and it doesn't come off there. I don't think I'd ever sell it. I think I'd really regret it if I did sell it, because I do really like the board, but it was endgame for about 20 days, 21 days. It was about 3 weeks, because I had like a bit of a gap between build streams, so it was about 3 weeks, and it's not been back on my desk since.
Oh man, I don't like that question's so difficult for me because I don't view endgame like that. Like, regardless of how I like a keyboard, I swap between them, like, between days and weeks, months, whatever. Like, I never think about like favorites or endgame or things like that. Man. Yeah, I don't know. I'm trying to think, but like I treat like all keyboards that I have like pretty much the same. Like, I try to get like the most out of them. I try to get the most experience out of them as I can. So it's less about like favorites. So I gotta cop out on that one. I'm sorry. I can't even begin to answer that question. Kakan is asking, what is your favorite Switch and why is it Alps?
Tactile. Alps is my favorite. If I'm going to go with a tactile Switch, I will go Alps. Like, that's genuinely a thing. It's like the salmons or it's browns, but yeah, that's I agree. Yeah. The linears, I don't like Alps for linears. They don't work. MX is way better when it comes to a linear switch.
Okay, my favorite Switch, again, I don't like playing the favorites, but if I had to pick a favorite Switch, it'd probably be the Zelio V2 right now. I think the Zelio V2 is just one of the most refined and interesting Switches on the market right now. I do prefer linear, but I think just that Switch as a standalone Switch is probably my favorite overall. With that said, I've been using a lot of the JWK stuff lately, and I've been enjoying it. I don't think it's perfect, but I've been enjoying it. Chuletas also asking, what boards should I be looking out for in group buy or out in the wild that support Alps? The upcoming Hiney TKL is going to have an Alps plate option.
There's a few boards that support Alps out there, I think. What did I build the other day that had Alps support that I wasn't even aware of? I can't recall now, but I built something like a week or two ago that had Alps support, and I genuinely didn't expect it to. What was that?
I feel like a lot of TKLs wind up having Alps support.
What have I built recently?
As far as like upcoming Alps boards, I'm not really sure. The Borsdorf that ran recently, right? That's pretty. Yeah, it's a very unique kind of example, I guess, but that's a very cool Alps custom.
Yeah, I can't think what it was. I'm going back through our build streams now, and I can't. Maybe it was the volcano. No, it wasn't the volcano. I don't think that supports Alps. I don't know. There was something that I built that supported Alps quite recently, and I was really surprised that it did. I can't think what it was. I've gone all the way back to like 2 months ago now, and I can't find it. So I don't know what it was, but yeah.
Yeah, I guess I would just say the Hiney TKL1 that's coming up, but that's like one of the only boards on my mind right now because I'm really excited for it.
Yeah, I kind of like really excited about that. I need to message Hiney straight after the show. Yeah,
I'm gonna laugh when he just tells you no.
That's what he's gonna say, but I've got to ask him.
You gotta try, right? You gotta try. Sir Cucumbers doesn't tag us, but he's asking, are there any low contrast dark sets out there? Quite a few, I think. I mean, pretty much any black on black or like black on gray kind of set is going to be a kind of a low contrast set. That's that's definitely the more popular kind of one in the community. GMK Dark, yeah.
If you can find it, you can get GMK Exempt as well. That's very much a black on black kind of colorway. It's actually on my Exempt just back here, but you can't really see it. You can just see it's a dark blob with orange around it, but that is a black on black set as well.
Yes, most definitely. Claygor asking, do you guys like to read fiction? And if so, what do you read? I don't read much fiction, actually.
Yeah, so I haven't read anything for a while. I tend to like fantasy stuff, but more tended to be space fantasy than necessarily like historical fantasy, kind of medieval type fantasy. Although I do like stuff. Obviously, I like the Tolkien stuff and all that kind of thing. The last thing that I read that I was really into was the Saga of Seven Sons, which was by Kevin J. Anderson. And it's a kind of like a space opera type thing. I think it was over 7 books, I think, if I remember rightly. That was really good. And also, one thing that I'm halfway through is the Hyperion Cantos at the moment, so all of the Hyperion novels.
All right. Very, very nice. Witseller subs at Tier 1, so thank you so much for that, man. Appreciate it. And he says, thanks for the great stream as always. The Heavy Grail is looking incredible. That plus the TKL1 and the JO1 Rev1 making me rethink my planned purchases this year.
Ooh.
Yeah, man. Keyboards are, potentially getting kind of interesting. Lots of cool products on the horizon.
Yeah, Rev1 soon.
There you go. Josie is asking, any builds coming up? I actually have several builds coming up. I'm actually kind of excited, too, so... I still am planning on doing kind of a fun stream with this NK65 that Novel Keys was so gracious to send over. So I'm going to be testing out some different switches in this board, some of the newer switches that I have, some of the new Kale Silent switches, as well as the TTC Gold Pink switches that I was alluding to earlier. So I have a stream about that. I have a Clippa S stream coming up. That's going to be really fun. I have potentially up to 2 Iron 165 streams coming up,
Nice.
as well as an LZ Iron rebuild that I still need to go ahead and desolder and get that going. So I have quite a few builds on the horizon, actually. So lots of build stream, chill content streams coming from me.
Yep, I've got a few coming up as well. I've got the Clipper build I'm going to do with the Doddle 60 PCB and plates this weekend. I'm also on the same stream. I'm going to be doing a KBDfans KBD 75 V2, which is a customer build, 2 customer builds in 2 weeks, which is very, very rare for me. It's rare I do customer builds on stream. I do a lot of customer builds, but very rarely stream them. But that was a special request from DNL, who I'm building it for. I'm also going to rebuild my personal iron in the coming weeks as well, because the way I built it, I was just too excited, and I should have spent more time on the switches. I didn't loot them. I just used stock H1s, and whilst that's not a bad switch, I think I can make the board much better by actually spending some time on it. So I'm going to do that. I'm just waiting for some films to come in, some Switch films to come in, and we'll go with that. I'm also going to finally build my Duck Viper V2. So this has been in its box since it was brand new, and I've finally settled on a build for that, which I'll share when I put the stream announcement up. But that's finally going to happen at some point in the next few weeks. And of course, I've got the Lodestone and the JO1 Rev 1 build streams coming soon as well, which will happen before the respective group buys. So yeah, lots coming.
Nice. Morgan Carver is asking, have y'all tried the new Tacit switch yet? I haven't, but that's a JWK switch, right?
It is, yeah. I've got some. It's a JWK switch.
JWK switch, all right.
There's very little else to say than that. It's okay. It's a JWK switch. It's just a different color. That's it. Yeah, it was all right. Yeah.
All right, Chuletas is asking, I do like the new format you guys are going after. Poking your brains about certain things through chat is still why we come back. Keen on seeing what you guys brew up with the channel. Thank you very much. I really appreciate that. It's been a long time coming, I guess. So I'm looking forward to the transition. I think we need to bring it back to something that Jay and I have like a lot of fun doing, and I think that'll bring the content up to a way better level, because I think we'll be a lot more enthusiastic about it. Yeah,
absolutely. And I think what you have to remember here is that we aren't here to shill stuff. I know we have the sponsor segment, and that's a different thing. But when we talk about stuff, we're not here to kind of shill products. We're kind of here to give our personal opinions on them.
Yeah.
And that can be from kind of any perspective, whether we think it's something that we like, or whether we dislike it, or whether we think it's interesting for a certain reason, a certain characteristic, whether that's from a consumer perspective, whether it's from a business perspective, whether it's just from a community perspective and how that's going to be perceived, or whether it's the right thing or the wrong thing to do for the community at large. There's a whole raft of different spins and takes we can do on it. And where Brian and I have seen the show in the past, when we've been reflecting on it this past week and this past few days whilst we've been talking, is that it's very much become there's this set on the market, you should buy this, or you could buy that, or you should maybe buy this, or maybe don't buy that. And that's not what we want to do. We want to give you our kind of like opinions based on real world interactions with other things that we have going on, and kind of how we can portray and display what we really think about something. It doesn't have to be a kind of, this isn't a sales pitch. Isn't this show, like the news section as it's existed in the past, isn't a sales pitch. It's not kind of to try and drum up interest in group buys and to try and make people spend money. That's kind of not what we're here for. Sure, we do it during the sponsor segment because we have to support our sponsors, and that helps us to create more content. But the actual news segment is more about us being able to share our experiences and share our personal thoughts and considerations and things like that. It's not about trying to do anything else. So we're going to be changing that as we go forwards, and we want chat to be interactive with us more, and we want to try and one of the things we're probably really guilty of is during that whole segment is kind of ignoring what's going on in chat, and we kind of want to stop doing that a little bit as well, and kind of like let you guys take us on the journey. We want to try push in more different tangents and talk about kind of obscure things that really interest us, like the mounting system for the Trivium. You know, we all wax lyrical about that kind of stuff and just talk about all those kind of things.
Yeah, absolutely. Russ is asking if any of us got CRP recently. So yeah, definitely some of the CRP sets have been running recently. I got it on the pink Japanese version. That was like $65, I think. I think that's the one I went with.
Oh, the one on drop recently. Yeah, I think
recently.
the round 2's just started shipping actually, but I didn't join that. I've only joined for the latest ones that are on drop right now. The HAD and the, was it Russian? I think the Cyrillics. I think it had.
Yeah.
I can't call
something like that.
Yeah. I didn't join round 2, the ones that are shipping at the minute.
10 Strong asking, in preparing and continuing your stream, whose perspective do you aim to represent? I had assumed it to be the consumer, but when things come up like avoiding being a slam factory, or considerations that exist only to the supplier's considerations, investment cost, impression, management around their project, etc., have made me question this. To bring this further, if you do say that you intend to represent both suppliers and consumers, how could any consumer trust the faithful representation of your recommendations? First and foremost, I'd like to say that if you're watching this show, you're here for our thoughts and opinions. That's who we're representing. I'm representing me, Jay's representing Jay, we're representing Top Clack.
Yep.
So and I don't know how that got confused, but sorry that was confusing apparently.
Yeah, to how I answered the earlier question around the new formatting and things like that, we aren't here as kind of like a promotional show. We don't, like all of the interest checks and group buys that we cover, we aren't kind of promoting those in a sense. That's not the intention here. We're talking about them because we want to share our opinions on those. And our influences can be around a range of different things. I don't think necessarily having an understanding of the business view and a consumer view are incompatible. I think they're absolutely compatible, and I think it makes people more well-rounded to understand both sides of an argument. You can't give someone one side of an argument and let them pick an opinion based on that. That's a terrible way to do things. If you can give a more kind of refined view and say, this is this side of the argument, this is this side of the argument, you go make your own choice, that's a much better way to position things. So I think you've kind of missed the point of what we're about, and that's probably because we've kind of fallen into that trap of just being a news show, and that's what we want to break the cycle of.
Yeah, part of that is, in fact, our fault, but that's something we are aiming to change. Claygor's asking about the format change, because I must have missed this. What is the format change? So if you go back to the beginning of the stream, you can check it out in the VOD or something. We talked a little bit more about it, but basically the TLDR is, we've kind of run our course on doing the show in this current structure, and we don't want to necessarily pigeonhole ourselves like we have been in the past, it seems, into just being this news show where we just, shove a bunch of information about what's happening in the community this week down your throat. I feel like that's getting stale, and it's honestly a little unsustainable just because of how the community's growing and our current capabilities, because obviously we have lives outside of Top Clack as well. There's only so much that we can do, and to be fair, we're just not really enjoying this whole current structure that we have of just shoving all this news down everyone's throat every week. We kind of want to take a step back and make it more of a classical but still interesting podcast where at the end of the day, it's just, some knowledgeable and experienced people in the hobby, some enthusiasts that have been around for a while, just, bullshitting and talking about, the current happenings and, the current thoughts and opinions and mindsets and maybe how the community can move forward and maybe some things that we've done right in the past, some things we've done wrong. There's so much to talk about. There's so much discussion. There's so much more than just, here are these colors for this key set for the day. Or, here is this top mount or sandwich mount keyboard for the day or week. It's cool, and we're putting out so many products in the community, but it's also getting a little stale, and I think Top Clack, just as a studio, wants to kind of change things up from how we're currently doing things, and maybe kind of look for a slightly different kind of format. So nothing is like 100% finalized now. Just know that Jay and I want to kind of change things for our happiness, for our betterment, and to hopefully better the community as well. So that's where this is pretty much going. That's what we want to try to do. We always want to try to better the community. That's always kind of our goal. That's our end game, I guess, if you will. So just keep that in mind. And if you're hanging out with us and you're along for the ride, awesome, we definitely appreciate it. But if you now hate us and you only wanted us for the news show and that's all you ever wanted us to do, then I'm sorry, but it's not going to be like that anymore probably. So just keep that in mind. But we, at the end of the day, this is a project of ours, and we want to make it the way that we want it. Starstone is saying, when Jay speaks on Top Clack, does he represent Top Clack or Prototypist or both? Is there a line similar to editorial and op-ed? That's a great question.
It's a good question. Yeah, it's a really great question. When I'm on Top Clack, I'm here as me, and just me on Top Clack. My business interests aside, they're completely separate. I might give snippets of information and things like that, and kind of experiences, because that makes who I am up. So I can talk about how things happen in the industry and kind of give that kind of level of insight into it sometimes. But first and foremost, when I'm on Top Clack, I'm representing Top Clack. There's a reason why I don't talk about my group buys on here, particularly on the main show. I might talk about my boards and show my boards from build streams. Build streams are very, very separate. That's a very different type of content. That's where I'm being completely me and showing things off and things like that. In terms of the main show, where we talk about news and we talk about what's happening in the community, I argue with Brian about this sometimes, because I say I don't want to cover my stuff. I don't want to talk about it because I don't think it's fair. And
Jay and I actually argue about this.
He tells me I should do. So, for example, I never covered the JO2 on Top Clack. When it's group buy, we can talk about it here on the main show. Yes, of course, it talks about it on my build streams. That's where I show you my collection. It's and the kind of things I have and the kind of things I want to share with the community and my process for building and customer builds and all that kind of stuff that are happening. And that's the way it's always been. Those haven't changed. A lot of those projects started before I started to run Prototypist, and a lot of those projects would have continued even if I wasn't running Prototypist. I'd still be doing the JO1 revision 1 and all of those other things as well. But here on the main show, I try not to. The latest example of this is the Lodestone. I asked Brian not to put it on the news doc, and he basically pulled rank and said, no, we're talking about it in the interest check. He wanted to put it on there because he wanted to talk about it. So there's kind of, we try not to talk about my stuff on there because I don't think it's necessarily fair. So you're absolutely right to call it out. But when I'm here and I'm talking about stuff on Top Clack, I'm just being me in the frame of Top Clack and relevant to Top Clack. I'm not here to shill myself or advertise on the main show or anything for myself. That's why I'm not a sponsor of it, because that would be a conflict of interest. It would be unfair. And I don't ever want to be in a position where people think that I'm not being real and I'm not talking about product honestly, because that's all I ever want to do, is talk about things honestly on the show. So that's where we're at.
Yeah, and I mean that's always something that Top Clack has always wanted to work towards as well. It's just transparency and honesty. That's like what we're all about. And like Jay was saying, we do legit get in arguments, because the whole point of Top Clack was actually trying to get the information out there. At least the way we've been doing it so far with the news segment, at least, is let people know what's happening, give people the details, so they know. And regardless, it doesn't matter who's affiliated with it. It's still news. It's still happening in the community, regardless of who's doing it. So I get where some people are coming from, and I think that the new structure, the new format, will help a lot with that, because obviously there will be a lot less chance to quote unquote shill, I guess, if that's what people think Jay does. But at the end of the day, that's not the goal here. That's not what we're trying to do. And it's a bummer that some people are even seeing it like that. But I get it. I guess if you don't want to look deeper into it, it's very easy to see that at the surface.
It's a trap we've written for ourselves, though. We've kind of got into the position where we've become known as being a news show rather than being a chat show and a podcast for talking about necessarily keyboard content. It's become about what do Brian and Jay think about all of the key set and keyboard group buys and interest checks this week, and that's not what we're about, and that's not what either of us want to be Top Clack about. And if that stops people viewing, then fine, we get that happens. It's understandable. Hopefully it'll grow our viewership in different ways and help us be closer to our viewers in other ways. But that's fundamentally not what we want to be. We don't want to just sit here and talk about 16 different colorways each week, because it's not fun for us, and we don't see the benefit adds to the community. I think if you go back and watch any of our streams, the majority of the things we talk about in terms of keycap sets is the colors, the kitting compatibility, and then we give an opinion at the
end. And a lot of it's
and
the same stuff over and over and over
yourself.
again.
Yeah, the first thing you can do yourself. Do you like the colours, yes or no? What does it cover? Everyone can kind of work that out once they've had a little bit of time.
Yeah. I don't think the news doc is as necessary as it otherwise maybe once was years ago.
Yeah, we'll still cover some items, but it'll be items that we curate.
Yeah, well, it'll be a much more curated feel. It won't necessarily just be like, here's everything that's happened the last week, here's all the information, here's how we feel about it. It's going to be a lot more curated. Might have some more discussions. We'll probably bring guests back to the main show. That's something I'm kind of toying with as well, just because it'll be during this new format, it'll be a lot easier and a lot more casual to kind of bring them on, much more in a much more calm manner, where they can kind of just talk about whatever we're talking about, and we can pick their brains about whatever's happening, and it feels like more of a fundamentally structured podcast. And of course, we're going to try to play around with it and be a little bit unique and be a little different, but. I feel like right now Top Clack has just lost its focus on what we want to be doing, and we need to get that back. And of course, that's our fault, but we need to get that back. And this is going to be, the first big step in getting that back.
Yeah, one of the key things that we find that works best in our shows, some of the best shows we have are ones where we start to talk about something that's just on the news doc, and we find that there's something really interesting, and by interesting it can be good or bad. I don't mean that necessarily that it's only good things we're going to talk about, but we find something that's really interesting, and we divert and talk about that tangent, and Brian and I start to riff off of each other, and talk about that tangent, and we kind of delve a bit deeper, and sometimes that leads us into the history of the hobby, and sometimes it leads us into kind of where the future's going. Those kind of discussions are much more valuable to people, I think, and we tend to get a much better response from our viewership about those kind of conversations and about how that generates conversation within the community as well, than just talking about the news.
Yeah,
you guys can read. I mean, Sarson, if you guys want a bit of news, he does a great mail call every few weeks, with Type Beast and sends out. Yeah. I genuinely enjoy getting that.
And even though he's a competitor, Man of Interest channel, he does This Week in Keyboards. It's a great segment. You get you get a very kind of concise look at some of the week's news. You get you get Huey's thoughts, Man of Interest. He's been a keyboard enthusiast for years. He knows his stuff. A lot of people respect his opinions. So. There are other outlets. There are other means of just getting a bunch of news thrown in your face. I don't think that needs to be us anymore. And I think that if we
Keycap and Met Group buys as well, if you want to keep up.
Yeah,
that's.
And in 10 Strong, he says this is a great question too. He's asking, what is the ideal Top Clack for you guys? And that's something that. We don't know yet. That's something that Jay and I are going to have to be talking about over the next week, and what we want to see out of Top Clack moving forward, because we maybe had an idea of it and we've kind of lost that idea, and maybe now we're not so sure. So we're trying to find that idea and that ideal Top Clack, because maybe we don't know exactly what it is yet, down to the every fine detail, but we're trying to get there. We're trying to get there.
And it's going to be a learning experience. It's not something we're going to hit our stride with in the first couple of weeks. It's going to be a learning experience, and we want to bring you guys with us on that. We want to try and change the show around and learn what you guys like, learn what you don't like. This week we've only covered maybe a tenth of all of the topics that were out there. But we feel like it's probably been a more concise show. We've probably been able to add a bit more insight into the things that we have talked about. And we've been able to give some better opinions and things like that. We've had a few tangent conversations, and we've kind of moved forwards in different ways, and it's probably worked out a bit better. It feels like a nicer show, much more relaxed. And you know what? It feels more fun. I've actually really enjoyed doing this show, and you guys are asking some really good, challenging questions right now. Starston asking questions about my interests and things like that. It's a really great question. 10 Strong kind of challenges around why are you moving away from being a news show, and what does that actually mean? Great questions, and that's kind of what we want to generate. We want to generate these conversations with you, but first and foremost, Brian and I have to enjoy what we're doing.
Yes.
If we don't enjoy it, we're going to give shitty content. It's going to be crap, and you guys aren't going to enjoy it, and then that's no good for anyone. So we want to bring back the enjoyment and try and change things up so that we enjoy what we're doing and we're gaining benefit from it as well, rather than just talking about 10 things each week that neither of us really cares about. We're going to talk about 2 or 3 things each week that we do really care about for whatever reason, whether it could be a good reason, bad reason, and a different reason, or because it relates to something tangential or whatever. And we're going to generate conversation with you guys, and we're going to get you guys to feed into it, and we're going to get you to talk about it. And we might have different segments that crop up, and as Brian says, we might bring guests on and talk about things like that. We have to change and talk about different things.
Yeah. Like Osiris points out in chat, great comment. He says, content has to be ever-evolving, and it's true. We can't just keep doing the same thing over and over again forever. It's just how it is, and I'm looking forward to the future. And some people might leave us, and that's just the way it is, and some people might join and have a good time. And at the end of the day, what Jay says is totally right. We have to enjoy what we're doing, and I think, in turn, if we enjoy what we're doing a lot more, we're going to be able to put out way better content, and you guys are going to be able to enjoy it a lot more as well. So, yeah. Thankfully, it looks like a lot of people are totally on board with us, so we very much appreciate that. Like Jay said, it's going to be a bit of a learning curve. We're not 100% sure on 100% of what we're doing so far, so it's going to be kind of a step-by-step process, and next week's episode is going to be pretty interesting, because that'll be kind of our first step into what our maybe our new content is going to look like. But it's gonna be a good time, I think. I'm gonna be very much looking forward to it, and hopefully you guys will be as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think you guys need to appreciate that some of the things that we try are not going to necessarily work, and some of the things are going to work, and we might bring them back. We'll just have to see how it goes.
Yeah, as I'm sure you guys are well aware, we're not perfect, but we're trying. And to kind of bring back the 10 Strong's question of what the ideal top clack might look like, I think a lot of it, at least for me, is getting everyone's brains stirring, man. Like, you gotta be thought-provoking a little bit. You have to get people involved, whether it's mentally or just verbally in the conversation. You gotta get the brain juices flowing, guys. We gotta I don't know, man. I'm trying to articulate this in a better way, but and I'm obviously failing, but really just get people thinking about where the community should be and the kind of things we should be doing. Maybe a lot of questions of morality, what's right and wrong. We've had ongoing, ever-long conversations in our community about things like copyright infringement, and colorway stealing, and this and that, and novelties and rights, and there's so much to talk about that is untouched in our community that I feel like while people have passing conversations about, no one really digs very deeply into it. And I think that maybe it's time that maybe we could be that content studio where we can do stuff like that, as opposed to just showering everyone with what's happened over the last week. So I don't know. The future is uncertain, but isn't that kind of just the world right now? Let's be real, guys.
Tasty.
It is, yeah. 10 Strong was asking what defined tangential. So things that slightly relate to what we're talking about. So, for example, a good example of something tangential would be when we started talking about the Nobauer board, and then we talked about how injection molding was kind of expensive to start up costs, but then once you get everything set up, then you can run it through quite cheaply. That's kind of at a tangent to what we were talking about. It's kind of, if you imagine the conversation as a circle, a tangent's the line that runs parallel to a single point on the circle. It's kind of a spin-off of that conversation, but it's something that's indirectly related to what we were talking about.
I think you fell into a little bit of a trap there, Jay. Check out the
did I?
Just look at the spelling of the word that they were trying to get you to say there.
Oh right, okay. I'm just reading.
Yeah,
that's how you spell that.
I think tangential is what you were going for, right?
I think this is a difference between UK and EU pronunciation.
Oh, is it?
Again.
Oh, okay. Maybe I'm wrong then. I've always seen it been tangential, but I could be wrong. Regardless, there's still a couple more questions.
Add a tangent too. Well, let's just say it that way. Yeah.
Fair enough. Jace the Poop Scooper is asking, are premium acrylic boards unexplored? I love my console 60, but it's virtually unknown. That's a really good question. I think that acrylic boards are very much explored. That's something that's been done over the years by a lot of people in a lot of different ways. The word premium and acrylic, it's hard to go together, because most people, when they think of acrylic, obviously acrylic being incredibly cheap, it's often used as a budget material in our community, just because it is so cheap and so accessible and so easy to use. So as far as premium acrylic boards, I think we'd probably have to define what a premium acrylic board was, what that term entailed, to determine whether or not it's explored or unexplored. But with that said, I would say acrylic boards as a whole are very explored in our community, and we do have some of the higher end offerings that aren't even the layered ones. Remember, was it TX recently that put out the TKL that was injection molded acrylic, if I'm not mistaken? I can't recall the name of that one, but yeah, lots of acrylic boards on the market. I certainly think it's a very explored area, but I'd love to see more premium acrylic boards, I guess you might say. But I think it would depend on what that looks like. Anything to add to that, Jay?
No, I don't think so. I can't think what that board's called, though.
EO87, there you go.
Oh, EO87, that's one, yes.
I swear, like, the names of boards just, like, fall out of my brain as, like, as the newer ones fall into it. I can only remember so many boards at once. Katana Mech is asking, any visual changes planned? New scenes, sub-badges, emotes, perhaps? Yes. So, sub-badges and emotes are still coming. That's something I'm still working on. If you guys have ideas on what you'd like for emotes and sub-badges, definitely always feel free to let us know, because that's something I've been trying to work on in the back as well. As far as,
we did chat about these the other day as well. We had some ideas we were ruminating on, so...
Yeah, as far as other visual changes, as far as like changing and like branding and scenes and stuff, I'm not sure. Maybe not. It's not at the forefront of my mind right now. I kind of want to think more on how we're going to change as far as like the content before we change anything like visually, maybe. But we'll see. Anything can happen, right? We'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. 10 Strong trying to correct me again. Maybe it's not how it's pronounced in the UK. I've always said it that way. If I'm wrong, hey, every day's a school day, man. There's nothing wrong with learning new things. And I don't see how my personal day job relates to how I pronounce a single word. Yeah. My success.
Although I'd like to point out that intelligence isn't the fact that you know everything. It's the fact that you're open to learning everything and that you're able to learn new things and be okay to learn new
Remember,
things.
I do this 4 a.m., guys. This is 4 a.m.
Yeah, this is this is not always easy for Jay. You gotta cut up some slack, you know. Ballin Boys donates 100 bits, says here's to new top Clack. So thank you so much for that. That means very, very much to us.
I really appreciate that.
You know, it might not be easy for us, and it might not be easy for everyone, but gosh darn it, we're going to try to do something cool, and we're going to try to all be happy doing it. Spelunk Punk, great username by the way, saying, as Cat becomes a more popular profile, what do you think about the kits from a packaging perspective? From what I can see, it seems like it'll be generating a lot of waste per kit. That's something I've noticed as well. I've seen a couple of pictures lately. A lot of the Cat sets are shipping in individual packages, which is...
Yeah, you almost get like 10 base kit boxes to buy 10 different kits.
Let's be real. That's overkill. It's wrong. It's very bad for the environment, and I hope they change it. They definitely should, at least. All right. Anything to add to that, Jay?
No, I think that's it. They should change it.
Yeah, they should change it. And be environmentally friendly. Come on, guys.
Yeah, I mean, there's two sides to this. One, they should be environmentally friendly, and two, it's got to be easy for them to do as a business, right? You know, GMK manually package a lot of the keycap sets that we see, especially the smaller trays and things like that. So, as an example, I imagine it's probably the same for Keycap. Well, I don't know what their setup looks like, but yeah, they need to try and find a balance between making it easy for them and making it right for the environment and the consumer.
Individually packaging in a box, even every kit is just too much, man. That's just too much.
Yeah,
there's got to be a better way.
Yeah, like what was it? This a little while back. It was one of the EPBT sets that I got. So I actually bought two versions of it. I bought one version that was just a base kit for myself, and I bought a version with a base kit and another kit for someone else, and just proxy for them here in the UK. And the way that they packaged it is that I got a base kit that had a tray in a box, and then underneath it was kind of like a folded piece of cardboard that kind of pushed the base kit tray up against the top. And how my friend got it was they actually had two trays in there, one with the kits underneath, but it was all in the same box. So depending on which kits you bought, depending on how it was packaged, that might be a better way forwards.
Yeah, absolutely. Agent Skarn is asking, how big of an impact do you think the keyboard community make in the environment. I mean, overall, probably not very large, and that's not the mindset you want to have, right? I mean, the kind of mindset you want to have is like you want to be the one, pioneering some change, and hopefully other people are following. Because if you just think like, oh, everyone's ruining the world, why don't I ruin the world? Then nothing's ever going to change, right?
Yeah, Sturston's probably going to call me out for talking about prototypers here, but one of the things that I just want to say as a personal example here, one of the things that I do from a company perspective is offset all of the carbon costs for shipping. So everything that is shipped from me to whoever buys it, I offset that carbon cost with a range of different initiatives through tree planting and recycled materials and all sorts of other bits and pieces as well. So there are opportunities out there for people to do it, and I know a lot of other people do it as well, and a lot of people do it silently and don't share that because they don't want it to be. They don't want it to try and influence people. So those things are out there, and it can be done.
Yeah. All right. Well, that looks like it's actually going to be it for our Q&A segment. So I guess that's going to wrap up our show today. Just over 2 hours total live time. So still made in pretty decent time, and I think we got enough information out there as well. So hopefully people are kind of aware of what we're kind of aiming for moving forward now, and hopefully we get to the place we want to be at. Yeah,
it's going to be a journey, and we want you guys to come with us.
It's absolutely going to be a journey. But yeah, looking forward to it, guys. So with that in mind, hopefully you enjoyed today's episode. I know it was kind of a weird one, but moving forward, hopefully it's just going to be nothing but better. And I'm looking forward to the future, and hopefully you guys are as well. With that said, if you check below the stream, you can find links to a bunch of our outlets, including our YouTube channel, where all the VODs and other content is posted. You can also join our official Discord server, and you can come talk about I don't know, quesadillas or samosas, or your favorite apple cider, or your computer or keyboards, or anything else.
Yeah.
Or what?
What IPAs are you drinking?
Or what IPAs are you fancying this evening? So yeah, any closing thoughts, Jay, for today's episode?
No, build stream on Sunday. Going to be checking out the Doddle 60 PCB end plate from Gondolindrum in a clipper, and also doing a KBD 75 build for a customer, which is going to be really interesting. Kind of interested to do 2 of those builds in one stream. More content coming soon. Hopefully, I'm going to write another article this week and get it up on Clack, or Text Clack as it's called, because there's a few things I want to share thoughts on. So yeah.
Awesome. Sounds amazing. So I also have some build streams coming up. I'm not 100% sure what day and time yet for any of them, but if you join the Discord link below, of course, I always post to the announcement channel hours, if not days, before I go live. So, yeah, guys, look forward to more content, and thanks for sticking with us until now. And hopefully, you stuck with us because you like either myself or Jay or both of us, and you just like the kind of things that we do. So hopefully you guys can, stick around with us if you like the content moving forward, and we can kind of just grow and make the community a better place together. And I'm really looking forward to that. So
absolutely.
Until next time, guys, have a good rest of your day. Or night, depending on where you are, I guess.
See you guys.
Have a good one, guys.